The Chinese have accomplished an incredible feat. They've just built a gigantic sanctuary of marine life that rivals something Jules Verne could have dreamed up. A glass, steel, and concrete structure big enough to hold 50 million liters of water and tens of thousands of sea creatures. Ocean Kingdom is the largest aquarium in the world and has just opened up on the island of Hengqin in southern China. Nothing else on Earth can compare to it in terms of architectural scale, technological challenge, the amount of marine species on display, or the estimated number of visitors. This mind-boggling project elicits many questions. Whose idea was it? How was it built? And what will this Great Wall of Glass symbolize for people? Zhuhai, a simple fishing village near Macao that has become one of the most dynamic cities in China in merely a few decades' time. Like its sister city Hong Kong, Zhuhai is a special economy zone and now linked to the island of Hengqin. As part of an ambitious development program, Hengqin has just built an oversized theme park that is home to the most incredible aquarium ever designed. This artificial realm, an underwater Noah's Ark, is the brainchild of an extremely low-profile Chinese billionaire. To build it, he flew in talented specialists from all four corners of the globe. The contractors of this colossal construction project, with an estimated cost of almost $5 billion, are renowned architects and designers, as well as managers who've collaborated on major international projects. These experts, whose languages and cultures are different, have risen to meet what many considered impossible challenges to build an indoor ocean as disproportionately huge as the Great Wall of China. "20,000 Chinese workers toiled away for 3 years to construct Ocean Kingdom. They had to face all the challenges stemming from the enormous size of the project, but it was the main aquarium, with a water capacity equivalent to 12 Olympic pools, that presented the most technical problems. How to erect the largest and thickest glass wall ever made? Or even more impressive, how to install the enormous 50-ton translucent dome at the bottom of the aquarium. The park project is much more than the giant aquarium, though. 7 other themed tanks were built on the site, as well as one of the largest hotels in China. Ocean Kingdom also contains an amusement park and a circus. The Chinese billionaire bargained on excess to attract millions of tourists. He wanted a 66-meter-tall whale shark as the emblem of Ocean Kingdom, and he got it. Nevertheless, the ultimate challenge doesn't fall to engineers, but to marine biologists. How to transport colossal creatures weighing several tons and introduce them unharmed into the aquariums. 30,000 fish and marine mammals in all will be brought into Ocean Kingdom. It will be a Herculean task to take care of all these creatures, even more so since the theme park plans to offer its thrill-seeking public the most amazing oceanic show the world has ever seen. Well, if everyone agrees. It all begins in March 2011, the day after the Chinese New Year. Once the offerings are made to the gods, work can begin building the largest aquarium and marine theme park. The construction is set to last 18 months, yet it will take 3 long years before Ocean Kingdom finally sees the light of day. Still, everything falls into place as planned. The 130 hectares that will house the park on the island of Hengqin begin bustling with all the tried and true heavy equipment. Two worlds must coexist on this immense construction site. A traditional world comprised of workers who carry out the generally classic construction jobs, and a world of both Chinese and international experts who need to anticipate and solve the problems linked to this project that defies comprehension. To employ nearly 20,000 construction workers, Chimelong, a Chinese group specialized in mass tourism, has drawn teams of highly diverse traditions from China's different regions. In a land much vaster than Europe, cultural differences among ethnic groups are common, But at this stage of the game, no conflicts have emerged yet. Everyone minds their business and does their assigned job. The race against the clock hasn't begun, and as of yet, everything is running smoothly. For the time being, the main task is reinforcing the concrete foundations with steel and raising the huge walls on them. Although steel pipes have replaced the traditional bamboo scaffolding, the Chinese workers still maneuver them with ease. The human beehive is constantly abuzz as 3 teams relay and round-the-clock shifts on each of the sites. Monsoon season is on its way, and all the foundations and load-bearing walls must be ready and dry before the spring rains arrive to inevitably slow down operations, especially since the hardest part remains. Now come the technicians in charge of installing the main arteries that will pipe water into the enormous ocean park. There are 8 aquariums in all, including the gigantic one, and 3 tanks destined for water shows. Several hundred kilometers of pipes, the biggest section of which exceeds 90 centimeters, will be laid to create a network branching to the different environments of Ocean Kingdom. For Robert Satchel, the American engineer in charge of the hydrographic network, every little detail counts. The PVC pipes must be trimmed down to the very millimeter to prevent any potentially disastrous leaks. Nonetheless, the trickiest operation is placing the pipes within the concrete maze of the Grand Aquarium, as it is still under construction. Everything has to be perfect. Once completed, this insatiable monster will be able to swallow 30,000 cubic meters of seawater. Even for the engineers, the aquarium remains an enigma. What will happen once it's filled? A tank of this size is completely unprecedented. Previously, the world's largest aquarium was in Atlanta, yet that one was twice as small as this. Other megastructures begin to take shape around the Grand Aquarium, such as the different amphitheaters, each with a seating capacity of 4,000 to 5,000. These 21st century arenas will house water shows featuring belugas, dolphins, and sea lions. Further on, an enormous concrete dome towers 30 meters above the ground. It will cover a circus with a polar theme, spotlighting its most emblematic creatures: penguins, walruses, and polar bears. And then there's the hotel, a 5-star luxury establishment with nearly 2,000 rooms, the biggest in China. Once it's completed, it will resemble a palace straight out of a marine-themed 1001 Nights. The Chinese billionaire has insisted on adorning the entrance with 30-meter dolphins, and he'll get what he wants. Meanwhile, the hotel is the first building in Ocean Kingdom to take form, probably because it's also the least complicated to build. A few hundred meters from the hotel, the first visitors arrive on the construction site, the men and women who will take care of the animals. Frenchman Julien and his Dutch girlfriend F have been hired to instruct and supervise Ocean Kingdom's entire crew of animal caretakers and trainers.
For all of them, that'll be the first time to see the show pool and all the pools, so that's very exciting.
For the time being, you still have to use your imagination.
It's a very nice exhibit pool.
The future aquatic theater where audiences will watch small white whales and large dolphins is still nothing but a dusty concrete shell. But Julien can already sense the culmination of a professional dream.
To
to me, to be part of such a massive project like that, it's a big challenge. My dream is to bring the best shows possible for Dolphin and Beluga Stadium and make this staff and this park one of the best in the world.
Julian is familiar with a good many dolphinariums throughout the world, and the directors of Chimelong were impressed with his solid experience. The 50-some Chinese animal trainers, some of them absolute beginners, are expecting great things from him now. Sooner or later, the inevitable had to happen. The rainy season has come, with its familiar consequences on the construction site.
The rain was so sudden and violent that the sand and cement collapsed in the four corners of the worksite. The rain's so heavy it's hard to evacuate. The damage is definitely going to mean more delays at this stage of construction.
The Grand Aquarium, where whale sharks and manta rays will live, is nothing but an ocean of mud. The engineers who have to plan for every eventuality are starting to entertain the worst-case scenario, shutting down construction. For Ricky Kong, the man in charge of the walls and making sure the giant tank is watertight, the dice are cast. They'll have to wait many more months before they can install the great glass wall, the tunnels, and the incredible transparent dome over the aquarium. There's still so much to do that as soon as the rain stops even a few moments, things start bustling once more. A leaden sky doesn't hinder the installation of the frames that will support the spectacular structures of the ocean theme park. Amusement rides, dark rides, roller coasters, and all of them gigantic, of course. Though they won't be the main attractions at Ocean Kingdom, the big draw being the world's largest aquarium. That being said, they'll still play an important role. Chimelong Group knows that in order to draw tourists from around the world, everything needs to be on offer at once. China's domestic leisure market is flourishing, but its new middle class don't have much free time. They want to go somewhere free of risk from natural disaster and the problems of daily life, somewhere the entire family can enjoy themselves and even learn while having fun. Chimelong decided to pull out all the stops. Ocean Kingdom will be nothing short of a dream factory. They plan to attract 20 million tourists a year. The ocean theme park will be open to all. There'll be something for everyone, Chinese and foreigners, young and old alike. Chimelong's management carried out a study to understand its countrymen's deepest desires. It turns out that what the Chinese want is an uninterrupted flow of entertainment and discovery, a feast for the eyes. In response, Chimelong didn't move mountains, it made them. Various American companies worked on building the giant slides for a journey of polar exploration, or else dark rides, which are each more impressive than the one before. And in keeping with the gigantic theme, why not build one of the longest flying roller coasters in the world? When completed, 1.3 kilometers of steel loops and interlacings will loom to a height of 60 meters, hurtling riders through an equatorial forest at nearly 110 kilometers per hour. After all that, it's sure visitors will get what they came for, and then some. In the barracks this morning, the workers are worried. Weather conditions are unfavorable, and there's a lot at stake over the next few days. The Grand Aquarium is finally ready for its huge glass wall to go up. Its 400 square meters of translucent surface will be the main attraction of Ocean Kingdom. Well, that along with the whale sharks. Cut into 12 pieces measuring roughly 9 by 4 meters, the 65-centimeter thick acrylic glass wall docks at the port of Hengqin. Each piece weighs over 22 tons. It took 2 years to design, build, and transport them. A huge crane is set up. With its heavy concrete counterweights, it's a record breaker in itself. The 500-ton beast on caterpillar tracks must lift and place the pieces of the glass wall into the formwork as gently as possible. The slightest impact or error in positioning could have consequences on the entire project. There aren't any spare parts. For manager Ricky Kong, it's the moment of truth.
I've got a brand new challenge to face. I've done it before, but this will be the first time with walls as big as this. I'm coming. I'm in the car. I'll be right there.
The formwork is ready and waiting inside the aquarium. The only thing left to do is slip the 270 tons of acrylic glass inside. The success or failure of the undertaking now rests in the hands of the man operating the 50-meter-tall crane. Here we go. Once it's turned upright, the massive panel will be lifted into the air. Though enormously heavy, new technology has cut its weight in half. It was a calculated choice to use polymethyl methacrylate, better known as acrylic or acrylic glass. This material weighs exactly 1.2 tons per cubic meter, whereas silicate glass weighs 2.5 tons. What's more, it's more resistant to impacts, and its optical qualities, transparency, light conductivity, and absence of geometrical distortion are distinctly superior to traditional glass. The most difficult moment has come. The team now has to slide the glass wall into place. They must prevent it from swaying, and to do so, they use the simplest method to guide it: human hands. The 22-ton slab slides into place without a millimeter to spare. Along with the 11 other panels, it will form the Great Translucent Wall, 40 meters long and 330 square meters. These spectacular dimensions will earn it a spot in the Guinness Book of Records, usurping the glassed wall of Dubai's aquarium. A few days later, the second and third panels are slipped into place without a hitch. The workers seem to have the technique down, and it shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 weeks to install all 12 panels. But in the end, it takes 2 months. An unexpected intruder is to blame: the wind. Though moderate at first, it quickly rises, forcing the workers to accelerate the process and pay even closer attention. The storm picks up all at once and lasts several days. The acrylic panels sway dangerously at the end of their hooks in the gusts of wind. It's becoming dangerous for the workers. One final tense attempt, and they make it. The final panel is fitted into place, to the great relief of Mr. Ricky Kong. Now that this massive work has been perfectly installed, the architects at Ocean Kingdom can focus on other concerns. Al Cross, Vice President of PGAV Destinations, an American company specialized in attraction and exhibit design, uses his long stay in China to seek new inspiration. He visits culturally rich museums to hone his vision of the interior and exterior design for Ocean Kingdom. Chinese art from every era and dynasty has always displayed exceptional creativity and formal perfection. Al Cross doesn't leave anything to chance. He retouches his design again and again and again, which engenders endless discussion with various architects and managers about the countless attractions under construction. Yet somehow, little by little, it all takes shape. On paper, at least.
And into that pit, and it's a dry pit, and that pit will contain...
Dry pit. What the hell is that? Notice the two architects' reaction to what you're saying.
You have to admit, Chimelong's demands sometimes verge on the limits of what's reasonable. They want everything to be over the top, both in shape and dimension. All the parameters have to be taken into account, and often they only come clear out in the field. For the architects, the challenge is too big, but they'll do everything they can to rise to it. In fact, on the Ocean Kingdom site, it's simply one challenge after another. Mike, the head designer of the park, adds the final touch of color to the giant whale shark that will be the emblem of Ocean Kingdom. The engineers thought it was irrational, but the billionaire insisted. So they did it.
We have a radius.
Building a 66-meter-high whale shark is a tall order. For inspiration, they turned to the Statue of Liberty. In 1880, Bartholdi used copper sheets hammered by hand and bolted onto an iron structure. But modern technology makes the technique more labor-saving. Plates of galvanized steel were pre-formed in a factory based on 3D modeling, then attached to rods inserted into a concrete core. Much quicker for sure, though not enough to keep within the time frame.
So I want to see more people tomorrow, please.
还要看到更多人啊，明天啊，这样
Yes?
，Yeah,
Promise?
promise.
Look at my eyes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
The final touches on the metal creature are highly meticulous. Thousands of plates need to be welded and sanded. The engineers turn up the heat. They desperately need to call it a wrap for the whale shark, 6 months behind their original schedule. Once complete, the sculpture stands some 20 meters taller than the Statue of Liberty. It towers over the Ocean Kingdom construction site, much to the delight of the Chinese billionaire. No other animal sculpture in the world can rival it in terms of size. For the animal keepers and marine biologists, it's the beginning of a long evening. They head to the airport in Baiyun, some 150 kilometers from the island of Hengqin. An important cargo is about to be delivered on the tarmac. The timing's perfect. A large Russian-built Ilyushin 76 lands on the runway. Inside are the first large animals to be welcomed in Ocean Kingdom's temporary tanks. Every precaution has been taken for this initial encounter. The vet wants to make sure the animals are in good health. They've just traveled 10 hours from the aquarium that originally housed them. Once the customs officers and pilots have completed formalities, it's time to begin unloading the 8 belugas. The small white whales have traveled 2 per container, and there are 4 containers to unload. They need to act fast. Even at night, the temperature in Baiyun is close to 30 degrees centigrade, and belugas normally live in 2 degrees water. On top of this, because they're marine mammals, they were transported simply in moist wraps, a prudent safety measure since they could have drowned had they traveled in containers of water. The main priority is getting their body temperature down. Zhang Delu, assistant director of Ocean Kingdom, is a little on edge. It's the first time he's supervised an operation such as this. There's plenty of ice on hand, and they quickly place the bags into the paddocks. The beluga's land journey can now begin. Their well-being is in the hands of the animal caretakers who know there's no room for error. It's daybreak, and the temperature is going to start to climb. The trucks pick up the pace as it approaches the island of Hengqin. Suddenly, there's a serious problem. The first truck is on fire. Well, not completely. The brake pad's overheated, and the underside of the truck burst into flames around the axle. They need to get it under control fast, since the crane's no longer around to unload the truck's precious cargo. More shaken up than hurt, saved by cool-headed resourcefulness. The truck can get back on its way to Ocean Kingdom. On site, where construction is still underway, Julian, the manager of animal training, waits impatiently for the belugas to arrive. They'll be his first students, along with the Chinese trainers. Mistakenly called a white whale, the beluga is a small cetacean that adapts easily to life in a dolphinarium. Its intelligence makes it easy to train, and its endearing facial expressions are a hit with the public. Larger than dolphins, the beluga can grow up to 6 meters and weigh over a ton, which is not yet the case for these young belugas that are about to be placed in the cold water tanks reserved for them. Before they go into the water, each animal gets a complete checkup by the veterinarian team. This female weighs 780 kilograms. An ultrasound shows whether she is pregnant and takes a cardiovascular reading. Everything's fine. Now all that's left to do is to put her in the water. Not as easy as it sounds. The beluga can sense the water, and she's dying to get in it as quick as she can. The receiving pools were built first. They allow the animals to adapt and be separated from others they're incompatible with. Ocean Kingdom can't keep Arctic mammals and warm water fish in the same tanks, nor sharks with seals. Once everything's completed, each species will be dispatched into its own aquarium or well-defined area. Meanwhile, everything is going as smoothly as can be expected with the belugas, and Zhang Delu and Julien are pleased. The animals start to play in the pools, a good sign. Mission accomplished. That being said, F, Julian's Dutch girlfriend, knows the real training has only begun. It's going to last a year. The Grand Aquarium, where the whale sharks and other deep-sea creatures will live, is a long ways from being ready to welcome its guests. The second batch of acrylic glass, the elements for the translucid tunnels, has just been delivered. As tricky to install as the Great Wall of Glass, the tunnels will allow visitors to walk beneath the aquarium and be in direct contact with the biggest fish in the world. The Great Dome, which is to be placed in the visual center of the aquarium, finally leaves the Japanese port of Kobe. It breaks every record. Never before has a piece of glass this size and of this optical quality been created. But the Japanese did it. Now the Chinese have to build a road 20 meters wide and 7 kilometers long to transport the dome from the port of Hengqin to the giant aquarium. The work is carried out in a rush, since the heavy machinery wasn't available until now. The temporary road has to be extremely flat, since the least upset during transport could have unthinkable consequences. A rather special-looking truck was designed to transport the dome, which has almost completed its sea journey at the mouth of the Pearl River. Now, they just have to transfer it. 12 meters in diameter and weighing nearly 50 tons, the acrylic dome is as impressive as it is worrisome. The team in charge of moving it is practically breaking into a cold sweat. Set down ever so gently, the dome begins the final leg of its journey, and maybe the riskiest. Never before has such a massive, fragile object traveled in these conditions, which is why the Japanese actually built it in a temporary factory right on the docks of Kobe. It takes several hours to cover the 7 kilometers. Finally, at nightfall, the exceptional convoy arrives unscathed in sight of the aquarium. The very next day, the work continues. The jewel case awaits its gem. The glass saucer hovers above the metal base that is indispensable for isolating it from the concrete and ensuring the entire structure is sealed and waterproof. Once again, positioning comes down to the very millimeter.
Now that it's in place, yes, everything's fine. Especially now that the Great Dome has been positioned without getting broken. So yes, everything's fine.
Ricky Kong, the manager appointed by the Japanese company, has reason to be pleased. The 50 tons of glass are temporarily in place. The dome must now be consolidated with the aquarium. Way north of the construction site, a team of biologists and divers have made a trip to the dolphinarium of Guangzhou, another aquatic park belonging to the Chimelong Group that has an overpopulation of several dolphin species. The extras are now destined to join the sea animals at Ocean Kingdom. The first thing to do is sort them and find a way of transporting them safe and sound. 25 dolphins in all will make the trip. The method used to pack and transport them is basically the same as for the belugas. The animals are placed in a sort of palanquin placed in a container with just enough water to keep their skin moist. The project manager is now in charge of organizing the transfer.
What do you have for transporting the dolphins?
We're going to place them directly in the bottom of the trucks with the hoist, just like you saw.
Okay, that seems like the best solution. But they have to be slid in gently.
See? Look, it's going well.
With the various problems solved, the dolphins can begin the journey to their new home, Ocean Kingdom. They'll travel by truck, since air travel would have involved too much handling and unnecessary stress. The most important thing is the dolphins' well-being, and the road trip won't last more than a few hours. Once again, the animals will be under the constant supervision of the biologists accompanying them. Their every need is taken into account, and a report of their general state is made every 30 minutes. At dawn, Hengqin Island appears in the distance. Ocean Kingdom has already outfitted several temporary or permanent tanks to welcome its guests. The 25 dolphins will be lodged within the theater devoted to them. The dolphinarium will soon be the stage of magnificent aquatic shows. The entire veterinarian team, as well as the Chinese animal keepers and trainers, hurry to help introduce the newcomers to their new environment. Dolphins are extremely sensitive to human attention. so the team proceeds very gently with the indispensable medical exam. Dolphins are highly intelligent, and every species of them has many things in common with humans, including a similar physiology. They can develop the same diseases as us, which makes the veterinarian instructor's job rather easy. These dolphins get a clean bill of health. They're given the green light to enter Ocean Kingdom's tanks, their future playground. For everyone involved, the success of the operation proves the method of transporting the dolphins worked. Before the belugas, none of Ocean Park's biologists had ever been involved in this type of adventure with sea mammals. Everything had to be invented from scratch. And everything had to be built at the same time. The logistics of the animal's survival can't wait until the construction work is finished. Each day, tons of food are delivered to the refrigerated rooms of the aquatic park. More and more guests have arrived at Ocean Kingdom, almost all of them marine mammals. And they need to be fed, scientifically. Fish, the main staple of their diet, is prepared in kitchen labs worthy of a respectable Japanese restaurant. There's something for everyone. Mackerel, sardines, anchovies, even salmon fillets. Everything is weighed, adapted, and measured down to the last calorie. Dietary supplements, vitamins, and sometimes antibiotics are inserted or injected into the fish that make up the sea lions and walruses' meals. Like all pinnipeds, these creatures are voracious carnivores. In the wild, they spend most of their time hunting for food. So there's no question of skimping. The Chinese animal trainers are very attentive to their charges. They know that in order to obtain the best performance possible for their future shows, they need to reward the animals with food. May as well start early. Whether a South American sea lion weighing several hundred kilos or a small Californian sea lion, what they share is a love of food. Their gluttony makes them easier to train than dolphins and belugas. But the work is just beginning. In the large indoor pools that temporarily house the cetaceans, we find the same type of buckets full of rewards and motivation. For the spinner dolphins, the real work has begun. They too are greedy gluttons. And they aren't alone. The belugas in the next tank over are every bit as voracious. When Julian and his girlfriend F turn up on the scene, it's time to get down to serious business. They only have a few months left to get the Chinese trainers up to scratch and create a show worthy of Ocean Kingdom. The young recruits, not necessarily hired for their animal training skills, are nonetheless eager and willing. They familiarize themselves with the animals they hardly knew existed even just a few months ago. Julian and F have to take everything from the top. What seems like a game for the moment has to become serious work, as much for the trainers as for the animals.
So, in the beginning, to help
running to understand, you have to exaggerate a little bit the signals, make them bigger. So for example, with the target, when you did the hula, that was very large, very big, right? Next step will be to do this, enforce, this, enforce, this, enforce, this. So at the end, your signal is just this.
Although everything seems to be going well with the belugas, the friendly ghosts of the sea, the dolphins are a different story. You never know what could happen. Some of them can prove to be aggressive or even dangerous.
What I want everybody to be very aware of, if your animal starts to drift around like this or start to become, these are precursor signs of aggression. Animals start fighting because they're frustrated, because there's something they don't like. Remember, when you have a fight, the most important thing is to get control over the animals as soon as possible. Otherwise, we'll have big problems during the shows. Let's go.
That being said, the training continues and even grows quite demanding.
So maybe we'll put him on a diet when they come here.
The pace has picked up at Ocean Kingdom. Construction of the various amphitheaters or other performance arenas is almost complete. The installations and final touches, exterior as well as interior, are beginning to give an idea of what the theme park will look like in a few months' time. The final embellishments are added to the towers of the Grand Hotel. Soon it will shrug off its protective rags to reveal its full splendor. A Macao version of Las Vegas-style luxury awaits the visitor. But for the time being, the entire project struggles to make up for lost time. Ocean Kingdom was already supposed to open for tourists several months ago. The Chinese billionaire's magical extravaganza is still just a dream in the works.